Oftentimes we wonder, are we showing up as the best version of ourselves? But another question for you is, are you showing up as yourself? The power of true authenticity. It's not only about being the best version of ourselves, about being the true and authentic version. Because when we show up as our true self, that is how we're going to have true connections and be able to serve at the highest level. To help me with this conversation, I have my friend Marques Ogden, who is not only an entrepreneur, coach, speaker, he is also an ex NFL player. So we have a lot of fun talking about what it means to get authentic. I'm Clara Capano, and this is Clarity in Action. Welcome to Clarity in Action. This is the show where we have real conversations that are going to challenge your perspectives and drive real action. So if you are tired of holding back and you're ready to make bold moves, this is the show for you. Join us as we are going to take you from confusion into clarity. So we are here. Welcome back to another episode of Clarity in Action. And we are going to be talking about the importance of showing up authentically. You know, so many times I think we get in our own way and we think we need to act different, be different, but there is really nothing better than showing up as your true self. And to help me with this conversation, I have my good friend, Marques Ogden. Marques, welcome to the show.
How are you, Clara? You look fantastic. How are things going?
Things are going great, and you're looking like handsome devil as always. So it's always good to have you here.
Thank you so
Uh,
much.
you and I have talked several times. We've been working together, for about a year and a half now. And you even have your own show called Get Authentic. So you
Yes.
understand the importance of this. And
Yes.
to kick us off with everything, I would love to just kind of start us off by saying, what was your moment of clarity that you realized the importance of showing up authentically?
So, Clara, when I hit rock bottom as a custodian and I was on that curb with my head in my hands, crying and saying, what the world happened to my life and this, that, and the other. And so at that moment, I was like, oh my God, I lost who I was. I lost who I am. And that's when I said, this is the moment I've got to get back to being the real Marques. And the real Marques has to own that he's the one that put himself there. And when I did that, I was like, wow, this is the way it's going to be. This is the way I have to get. It's where I have to act and all these things. And once that really clicked with me, right, Clara, at that moment, I'm like, yes, if I'm going to get my life back, it has to start with me owning my mistakes, being real, and stop trying to put on this front that I'm okay. I have everything. I make all this money. Because at the time I realized it, I had nothing.
Mm. Yeah, and I think that that's, a really great way of looking at it. It's not only showing up authentically, but it's taking the ownership that wherever we are at any given time, we have to own that we're the ones that put us there. And I think that sometimes losing who we are can happen so gradually that we don't even notice it as it's happening. So what were some of the things that led up to you sort of losing touch with who you really were?
You know what happened, Clay? That's a fantastic question. I ended up pursuing so many external motivating factors: money, fame, notoriety, women, this, that, glamour, all this stuff. And it's interesting, what I realized is that people didn't like me for me. I saw an article put out by 50 Cent, the rapper. He said he is not engaged in having any type of female girlfriend, companion, anything in the last decade. Because he said he realizes that women that approach him only like him for his money and his fame and his notoriety. And that's all I was looking for, people to like me for those things. And because of that, you can't be real and pursuing fake.
Mhm.
It doesn't work that way. I was trying to, in my mind, I thought I was real, but in reality, I was as fake as all the things I was pursuing, which
Mhm.
didn't mean anything. And once I realized, Clara, on that curb in September 2013, pursuing things that didn't matter in my life, that's when I said, Marcus, you have to get this together. If you don't do this now, you'll be here for the rest of your life.
Yeah. One of the things I think is really interesting is you played for the NFL. And
Yes.
that probably was a childhood dream of yours. And I would imagine
Yes.
for people. And isn't it interesting how you achieved this goal, you achieved this dream, and that's also the one of the things that led in to you not living authentically. Can you speak to that a little bit about how sort of the irony behind getting what you want and sometimes that may not be exactly the best thing for you?
Well, it's interesting. The NFL, the game itself is a game of warrior, gladiator. You're going to just play the game at its highest level. Unfortunately, when you do have that type of success, that type of fame, that type of notoriety, it creates this sense where you have to be this big bad guy all the time, that you have to be tough all the time, that you have to be on point all the time, that you can't cry, you can't have experienced loss. And all the NFL did, it kept feeding my ego. I didn't have an ego around the guys, because when you're around a bunch of guys who are just as successful, it's all about working hard, being determined, being disciplined to stay in the NFL. We have an old saying, making it to the NFL is one thing, staying in the NFL is a whole nother. I mean, right now, right, Clara? There's so many guys being released, traded, this, that. I mean, all stars, and they'll land somewhere. But all these guys who are big stars have been playing league for years, right? So now because either salary cap or because the team wants to go younger, they're just moving on. They're just saying, "Up, see you later, have a nice day." And I just saw where Cooper Kupp, who was a big time receiver for in that regard, big time receiver who was actually just let go by the Rams, just let go. So the thing is, it's very important that people understand that the NFL is a phenomenal organization, but it also does create some sense of trying to live a life that a lot of times you really don't need to live, because you're pursuing something that really doesn't exist.
Right. And I think that, again, it doesn't have to just be the NFL. It could be anything. I've seen people who in their career, they got the title, they got the big corner office and all the benefits that came with it, but they still felt empty because again, it wasn't, they couldn't be real having that. And I think so many times, what we do, that becomes our identity, but that's not always necessarily who we are. So what would you suggest to someone if you could, looking back in retrospect,
Mhm, mhm.
what were some things you could have done differently to help you stay true to yourself through this journey?
I should have hired a coach, not on
Yeah.
the field, but a
Mhm.
coach in life, like a relationship coach or a life coach, or someone to help ground me, to help me understand that what I was experiencing is real life, but it's not a common life. And to learn how to value it at its truest form, and not to get sucked up into all the other things that come along with that, the money, the fame, the dot, because in reality, like I tell people, it's so hard to make money, but by God, it's so easy to spend it.
Oh, yeah.
It's so easy. Credit cards, debit cards, this, that, Apple Pay. You could buy things on your phone, right? Most people, right, Claire? And you're not just because you're an entrepreneur, you're one of the brave. Most people get paid once a month. I
Mhm.
mean, my ex-wife is a teacher. She gets paid once a month. So if you don't balance your income coming in and you're just spending daily and daily and daily, it adds up. It does add up. And so, unfortunately for me, Clara, I didn't have anybody to help teach me how to really have a lifestyle that did not involve all the things, all the glamour, all the sports, the media, all those things, because the media glorifies athletes because people want to be athletes. But then at the end of the day, like I tell everybody, you want to be something, but you have no idea what's on the other side.
Yeah. So
right?
true. And there's a cost to all of that. And sometimes we don't understand the cost that we have to pay to get the dream, to get the vision, to get the illusion that everybody is, setting out there for us.
Absolutely. I mean, because here's the thing, right? You're all about, there's three influences. We'll be talking about this on our coaching call in a couple of weeks. Three influences that help you to create the life that you want for yourself. Okay. Your environment, your input, your associations.
Yep.
And this is what happens when a lot of people get into a new environment like the NFL, like fame, like an NBA player, like an athlete, a big time job, working on whatever, right? A lot of them are not ready for that environment. And if you're not ready for an environment that can be harmful at times, it can be detrimental. It's a great opportunity, but it also has other sides to it. If
Mhm.
you're not ready for that environment, it will eat you alive.
It will.
No doubt about it.
Yeah. Yeah, so true. And I just think about, different times of my life where, I felt very unsure. I didn't know. And I think, when we're young, we don't know who we truly authentically are. I can remember, even in my marriage, becoming a version that my ex-husband would love. And that wasn't
Mm.
necessarily me. And then when I woke up one day and realizing I'm not living authentically, well, unfortunately, that was the end of the marriage because that it wasn't going to work anymore and we both couldn't be our authentic self together anymore. And it's scary, it's sad, you go through all these emotions, and this is something you speak on. You have an entire podcast on this. So if you are sitting down with somebody and they realize they have not been living authentically, what are some beginning steps that they can take to get their voice back?
First thing they need to do is input great information, great inspirational content into their mind to flush out the toxins and the dirty water that is clouding their mind. Because what happens is when we're trying to live not authentically or not with genuine intentions, there's dirty water that is flowing into our glass, into our life. And in order to flush those things out, you need to continue to put good content into your mind, input great information. And so many people don't understand the brain is not designed to make you happy. The brain is designed to keep you alive. It's designed for survival. And what
Mhm.
happens when you pick up negativity, news, media, gore, murder, all this stuff, your mind feeds on it like an anxiety machine and eats it up, eats it up. And
Yeah.
then you have constant stress, constant negativity, constant this, constant that. And that's where people end up getting lost because they lose a sense of who they really are. So you need to input great information, positive, uplifting information into your mind. But because when you start there, right, Clara, if you can get your mind on track, then good things will start to stem from that.
So true. Now, going back to what you mentioned about the environment, one of the slippery slopes with this is you may realize this. You may realize that you need to change your environment, you need to change your ways. But those people around you, they oftentimes like who you used to be. They don't understand necessarily who the real authentic you is. And I think that that can cause some strife. And sometimes again, you're at a crossroads with some of the people. So how do you suggest people deal with those that are trying to pull them back, that aren't really supporting them? Because it's easy to say, oh, just dump them, just walk away. Or as my mom would always say, don't even pay attention to them. Easier said than done. So, how did you face this with people you worked with, and what do you coach your people to do?
So I coach my people to think of, analyze the people they associate with and ask themselves this big question. Would that person be around you if you had absolutely nothing?
Mm.
Would that person be by your side if you lost everything? Would that person be by your side if you were having to start over? I lost so many who I thought were friends, when I moved to Raleigh with absolutely nothing.
Mhm.
Nothing. No money. I knew within a matter of days, both cars were going to be repossessed. Boom, boom. I knew it when we got to Raleigh. I knew we were going to be potentially be homeless, if I didn't get, some help. I mean, it was that bad. And I tell everybody, if you're not going to do what is necessary, then do not expect anybody to want to help you on that regard. But it comes down to being real with yourself. Are you in a position? Are you going to be able to do what you need to do? And are people around you going to be there for you if you lose it all or if you have to start over? And here's the thing. I saw this from Bethany Frankel, who's a former housewife in New York, and I love what she said. She said, if you have to think or take a moment to even guess or in your mind, compute if somebody has your back or not, move on.
Yeah.
Move on.
So true.
Because it shouldn't I mean, Clara, for example, right? You email me, hey Marcus, I think I have some podcast introductions left from last year. Can you hook me up? Yes, ma'am, you do. Here's an introduction. You emailed her. I emailed endorsing you to her right after that.
Mhm.
My clients don't have to worry, do I have their best interest? They don't have to think about it. If you have to think about or compute if somebody has your best interest, move on. Because at the end of the day, if they are like that now, if you lose everything, they're definitely gone.
Definitely gone. So, can you think about, again, and I know some of this is looking back in your own life, but even with people you're working with, are there any maybe red flags that we should be paying attention to that might cue us into if we're not living authentically?
Yeah, if people are talking to you, trying to advise you, and you're not listening, and you know you're not listening, and you think you know it all, boom, you're done.
Mm.
Change before it gets worse. It's interesting, right, Clara? I've now committed myself every day to half an hour of or more of listening to an inspirational, some sort of content, book, whatever. And it's interesting, since I've been doing that, I've been picking up more content for my clients, for myself, for my business, and just learning, right? And we're a very successful brand where people pay us a lot of money to speak and podcasts and all that. But I'm not the same Marcus I was when I had a $20 million company. You couldn't tell me anything.
Mhm.
I'm a different Marcus because I'm learning from my mistakes. So if you are an individual who is not listening to people, and you know it, you need to change. Because if you don't change, what'll happen? People will stop talking to you. And that's exactly how I lost our company, right, Clara? My best people stopped talking to me because they knew I wasn't listening.
Wow. Very powerful. And that's so true. I think, not just with entrepreneurs, but with leaders. I think this is something leaders need to understand too. And I was just listening to Barbara Corcoran, and she was saying, one of the things that she feels makes her a good boss, a good leader is she serves her people. She listens to her people. And, that's something I think we have to understand is we can't just always be talking at people. We have to learn and listen from others too.
Great leaders, they give feedback and they accept feedback,
Yeah.
period. Right. And you know why great leaders learn how to accept feedback? Great quote by General Dwight D. Eisenhower. The plan was useless. The planning was indispensable.
Mm.
And a great leader knows to pivot or to adjust with planning. They have to listen to their team. And if people feel they're giving you feedback, but you're not listening and you're not looking to apply or listen to at least hear them out, they're going to stop talking. And once that happens, as a leader, you are doomed. Because again, take it from a guy who lost it all, who had to move to Raleigh, was scared to death. I mean, Claire, I had 177 creditors on my bankruptcy docket.
Wow.
$5.5 million of debt because of me not listening.
Mhm.
So, and me thinking I knew everything. And in reality, Clara, I knew nothing.
Wow. Crazy. So you mentioned earlier, looking back, one of the things that you should have had was somebody in your corner guiding you, like a coach kind of guiding you. So sitting where you are now, do you have those people around you now and are you listening to them?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my God. Yes. So, I mean, I got lucky to get mentored by Mel Robbins, who helped me to understand that motivation is garbage and how to be a self starting, self inspired individual. My business coach, Bradley Mitchell, who was the founder of NAPSA. The NAPSA program, the National Athletic Professional Success Academy program, changed my life. It was so crazy, right, Claire? In the same month, in the same year, March of 2018, I meet Mel Robbins and I go to NAPSA. March 2018 was the most pivotal, transformational planning month of my life because I had two amazing people pour into me when I needed it the most. And I thought, and his thing was funny, when I was speaking up to that regard, right, Clara? I kind of had this, like, I was starting to get a little bit of ego, like, oh, I don't need this. Oh, I'm being authentic. Oh, I don't know about going to this program. I think I'm good. I've done a couple jobs here. It's coming along. And what happened is one of my mentors, Andre Collins, said this to me. He said, Marcus, you're a good speaker, but you're not a great speaker. I said, ooh. He said, if you want to be a great speaker, go to this program at NAPSA. And here's the thing, right, Clara? Brad actually handpicked me and
Mm.
six other guys out of about 1,000 former players.
Wow.
Brad saw something in me, and I almost didn't go. But I tell you what, this is me being real. Brad and then Mel, the combination changed my life. And then I also have a business coach now, George Sandman, who works with me on numbers and operations. And then I have a great business partner in Victor, who's helping me with more content and scaling and all these things. And I tell people, I know what I'm good at. I can speak, I can coach, I can consult. I can work as a brand, but I know what I'm good at: writing stuff, creating PowerPoints, scaling, all this other stuff, messaging. Absolutely not.
Exactly. So again, know what you're doing, stay in your lane and bring the people around. So I have two more questions I want to ask you, and this has just been a great conversation. So I appreciate it. You do have so many things going on and you're always creating new things and new ways to be able to serve others. So what is next for Marcus right now?
That's a great question, Claire. We are building the inner game community and we're launching a program where we're bringing in experts to do like the masterclass brand, to do teaching of people for people around topics, around different ideas, around different protocols. And people are going to be excited because it's not just me or Victor, it's other people that are leadership experts, operation experts, sales experts, finance experts that are going to be bringing their expertise, their stories, their experiences to the table. So we're really excited about that. We also brought on a new organization called Synergist starting in May to help with more content creation, more posting, more outreach, like really blitzing social media and putting out great content to drive up our brand's value. And we're really fortunate that people like our messaging. At the same time, you have to continue to put the messaging out there.
Very
If you don't
true.
put it out, I tell my clients all the time, if people don't know you exist, they can never, ever buy your product.
So true. So true. Well, Marcus, thank you so much. I know that you have just had an amazing journey and you're nowhere near the end of it. And you're going to continue to inspire and impact so many more lives. The final question I have for you today is sitting where you sit right now, learning everything you've learned up to this point. How do you now define success for yourself?
Success to me, twofold. One is our clients winning in what they do. That's number one. Your friend and client, when people are say happy and fulfilled, that's success. Number two is recognizing, right, Claire, that no matter who you are, we all have the ability to be great. And helping people to realize that is success for me. So, for example, Beethoven, right? And I love this. I heard this on the Darren Hardy audiobook. So many people were quick to label Beethoven a prodigy, just a myth, just like a phenomenal, once in a lifetime musician, right? He's just this natural talent. Everybody thinks that. In reality, their natural talent or being like a prodigy doesn't really exist. Beethoven used to make 60 to 70 different combinations of melodies, of music to make one note.
Wow.
60 to 70 different combos. And he was deaf. People are so quick to label him a prodigy, but through history, we don't talk about his work ethic. Same as Mozart, same as Bill Gates, same as Steve Jobs. Like, we don't talk about these people's work ethic. Now, can you be born with some natural talent? Sure, of like, or gifts of like size, or absolutely. But people, let's take Kobe Bryant. Oh, he's the most gifted natural phenomenon ever. Not really. Was Kobe a natural? 6'6" is not shooting for basketball, right? But what was Kobe Bryant? The hardest disciplined working basketball player there ever was. So to become a phenom, to become a prodigy, you have to put in 10,000 hours of deliberate improvement work into your craft. And if you do that, then you could become a Beethoven. You could become a Kobe Bryant. But it's interesting, right, Clara? What people think, if I would just label Beethoven a prodigy, for me not wanting to work as hard as I need to work, I will feel better about myself saying, well, you know what? I can't be him because he's just that prodigy. Like, it makes people feel better about themselves versus putting the work in. So success is helping people realize their full maximum potential and not think about, well, he's innately better or this. No, you have the potential to be great. But here's the question. Do you have the discipline to be great? Now, that's something that you have to decide.
I love that. That is fantastic. Well, Marcus, thank you so much. I loved our conversation. You really do show up with the same integrity that you speak on. You have your people's back. You are just really committed to opening doors. And I just wish you so much luck and so much success with everything that you touch in the future. Thanks for being
Thanks, Claire.
today.
Thanks for having me on. You were fantastic.
All right. Well, I took lots of notes and I really loved so many things that Marcus says, coming out of an idea. And he mentioned at the end, being over $5 million in debt and having almost 200 creditors after him. It was only when he hit rock bottom that he realized he got there by not owning and being his true self, by living a false identity and chasing the wrong things. I love this quote that he said is that external factors cannot drive authenticity. So again, not chasing the things that are external. You can't live by chasing falsities. So again, really being true and understanding these. Really just knowing that you've got to listen to those around you. Not everyone, but identify, get some good people, whether it's a coach, a mentor, get those key people around you, build that environment and listen, because nobody achieves success on their own. And when you find that you have stopped listening, that's probably a key indicator that there could be some challenges and some pitfalls coming ahead. Remember, the people that you surround yourself, those mentors, those coaches, they're there to help you. So use their expertise. I always love to say that success leaves clues. So study the patterns of those other successful people. Let's learn and let's listen from them. He talked about the three pillars and really paying attention to your environment, your input, and then also your associations. Those help to, create a trinity around you so that you have the support and the direction you need to show up. He also talked about, and I thought this was really powerful. You might be born with some innate talents, but it's also up to you to actually do the work to leverage them. Just because you're talented doesn't mean that success is going to be handed to you. You have to take ownership and you have to start diving in. So, really looking at those things. So, again, remember, you get in life what it is that you show up and you leverage. So don't just sit back and wait for things to happen. Be proactive in all of those things that you can, making sure that it's all about marrying the potential that you've been given with the discipline that you know you need to work. And for many people, it comes down to we don't really want to put in the discipline to get the rewards on the other side. So be strong, be purposeful, be disciplined, be authentic, show up, give your best, expect your best from yourself, and always be true. Because when you are true, the right people will be attracted to you and the wrong people will find a way out. So I hope that you found a lot of value in this. Would love to get your feedback. So go ahead and email us and let us know your thoughts. Let us know your takeaway. And please make sure to share this. There are so many people that are living untruths and we want to help them. We want to create a safe space so that they know they can live authentically as well. So thanks for joining us for another episode of Clarity in Action. I'm Clara Capano. We'll see you next time.